I guess unlike my normal videos, there's nothing to show for this, because if you want to see any of the loadouts that we used, I made a video on that here, so I guess for this video I'll be chilling out with Moxie, but hey, look at this, at least I brought a list. So before we get into it, I feel like I should explain exactly what this is in case you clicked on this not totally certain. All of the different modifiers or objectives, whatever you want to call them, for Hit the Road are kind of complicated. There's 8 of them. Some of them are easy, some of them are not, and I wanted to make one video talking about how to do all of them. And the basic premise of Hit the Road is the fact that you're guiding this van across the entire map, and you encounter, I think, 3 or 4 of these different modifiers every single time, and I actually cracked myself up a little bit with this minor delay one because I had to pull a stream from over a year ago because I could not find a single run where we actually ran into a survivor. So regardless, we'll talk about that later, but getting right into it, let's start with Bridge Out. Bridge Out is pretty basic. You just build a bridge, and if I don't have the footage for it, I'm going to track it down because we once built the bridge in advance, and then it destroyed all of our builds to start the objective to build the bridge. I was not happy about that, and that is my main advice. You can farm up a lot of metal right there next to the bridge, and of course, if you bring an Outlander, you can let them punch all the cars for you and get the job done. Infestation is a really, really important one. To talk about it this early in the video is a little weird because this is the kind of one that I wanted to build up to, but essentially what you want to do is basically run to the bottom of this room, get to the absolute bottom because they spawn in random locations, but most of the spawn points of these mist pods that spawn mini bosses, and you will have to kill all of them, by the way, will spawn inside of this room. I think 2 or 3 can spawn up top. You can have a teammate up there for that. A pickaxe will do the job just fine, but you'll definitely get the hang of this. I wanted to show like some optimal route or some foolproof way to find them all, but that is really outside of my scope of expertise. My main advice is that every time you encounter this, just run down there, work your way up, and try to not miss a single one. If there is 1 or 2 remaining, a couple of drones, a slowing field, or your most powerful weapon will definitely take care of it. If you're appropriately leveled for the actual mission, it shouldn't be that big of a deal to handle these guys, but of course it's going to require teamwork, and for every single one of these mist pods that you miss, this is going to get harder. Minor delay is that one I talked about earlier, where survivors are just inside of these caves. It's basically the same thing as Infestation, but it's not nearly as dangerous. You will have to be defending the van up top, which is really, really nice if you have a base, so have your teammates sort of defend that, and then you can have 1 guy or 2 guys go down and just look for all the different survivors. They're pretty easy. Feelin Blue is actually my favorite one because this is one that I feel like I've kind of mastered. So Blue Glow was really tough initially, but after a few runs of it, you sort of get the hang of it. They're basically in a ring around the van. Some are a little closer, some are a little further, and there are some sneaky spots where you have to kind of look under there. I don't think I got footage of every single spawn for all of these, but basically that's it. You just go for the Blue Glow that you see first, you know, run up top, build up high, get a nice overview of the landscape, and then just try to do a loop. If you're really, really good at it, you can get about 12 in one loop, and then maybe all 16 will be around that second half loop. If that doesn't make any sense, essentially you're just working the perimeter and trying to find all of the Blue Glow out there. Hopefully some of this gameplay showed you some of the key spots, and I feel like just knowing even 16 to 20 of the spawns, I think there might be 2 dozen, will be enough to get this in a timely fashion. Of course, just like some of the other modifiers, you will have to be defending the van during this time, so a base is very nice. Bring a constructor, let your friends deal with that, and have 1 or 2 guys going around looking for that Blue Glow. I do want to actually double down on that and say that 1 or 2 people is very critical, because if you have even 2 people looking for it, then you're going to be checking spots that your teammate already covered, or, you know, you're going to be stepping on each other's toes, both going for the same Blue Glow. To have 1 person who knows the spots might be the best way to go, and the only exception I can really think to this is if your teammate is going one way, he's going to get all the Blue Glow, and you can see one that he's easily not going to grab right away. You might be able to help him out a little bit, but that's super specific to the situation, and I don't want to confuse people any further. Pit Stop is definitely one of the more boring ones because it's a nice open landscape to defend this very, very easily. I keep mentioning a constructor, and that's why I always recommend to bring one, because a lot of these pit stops have you just sitting there, and if you put down, you know, maxed out metal, put a nice little ramp, a base, obviously, to make it stronger, you could really just hang out. This is where I read chat, catch up with things. It's not that hard. If everybody alternates drones, you can basically cover this whole thing. Like if one guy throws a drone every 30 seconds and you switch off between your teammates, you'll have 8 drones covering 4 minutes, and that won't be perfect coverage, of course, because they're maxed out zombies usually, especially if you're in a 140 zone, but it's gonna be pretty easy to defend regardless. I think if everybody's active, just dragon slashing, whatever, you're not gonna have any problem with that one. Overheat is basically the same thing as Pit Stop, but you're under a little thing. I just recommend building across that ramp and then, of course, throwing down a base, and it's essentially the same thing. Signal Boost is the same thing as both of those, but you need to build a tower up top. This is my least favorite, but I usually handle this because I have a battle royale history. I'm not the best builder for this. I'm sure there's some technique that somebody could dial down. I try to, you know, edit something and then work with that all the way around. I don't know. I try to make it as fast as possible. This one takes practice, but definitely don't have a console player on this. I'm sorry, guys. It's just objectively the truth that PC players are going to be a little bit more proficient at this, assuming they're practiced, because if I'm not mistaken, you can't currently change your edit speed on your edit button for the console players, and you can't actually change your keybind. So a well-practiced PC player is going to be able to fly through this a lot faster. You're welcome to help your teammates. You can't really step on each other's toes because you're just building a radar grid. And then, of course, at the end of this, you do want to check your map because there will be a very, very hard to see white exclamation point showing you where that radar dish is, and that can spawn in all sorts of different locations. Curiously, the few times that I recorded for this video, they were all mostly in the same spot, but they can be in other spots as well. Just check the map, it'll tell you right where it is. And that's actually where it's good to have two people, because you can have the other person waiting up there to put it down, because you're going to have to go get the dish and then run all the way back up to the top. It's super annoying, and a teammate can definitely make that faster. And then already is the last one, and record dash is going to include a record clip, because I don't know if this is a world record or something, and I don't think I even recorded it for this video, so I'm going to track it down from the stream. I found all 4 records right away, and I personally didn't even know how to do record dash for the longest time. It's come to my attention that you need to just search things. I never did that. I was just looking around the different buildings confused, so it wasn't until I was like about to record this video that I had found out that you need to search containers to find the records, and you can find the records for your teammates as well. So if you're running coconuts for this is a great excuse to find some, but yeah, record dash, just search as many containers as you can. You'll find your teammates and you'll get everybody hooked up. Same as usual, the van is going to park and you're gonna have to defend it. A base is nice. Here's a great little technique to build the entire box without any trouble. I was really enjoying this, you guys. I had a fun time going through all these modifiers. There's only 8 of them, but it's nice to lay them out all at once, and that's pretty much it. As for the overarching strategy of Hit the Road, as long as you know how to deal with these different stops, you have teammates that are appropriately leveled and also know how to deal with the stops. A Constructor helps a ton. Dragon Slash helps a ton. An Outlander can be a little useful in some cases, especially in the ones where you need to move around a lot, like the Blue Glow one or the Survivor one, or getting the loot for the bridge. But ultimately, I don't think the Outlanders are insanely necessary, and of course, at the end, you basically just defend it, seeing as this is sort of like an honorary mention for the final stage. We're going to talk about the final defense, which I almost forgot actually, but I feel like it's more important than any of these others because the objectives are so simple. But the final one, here's the technique that I've been going for. Tire traps, at least 4 of them on the main 2x2 slope, and then you can put down 2 tire traps on that side slope. A couple of wall launchers to just push the zombies back down. You're essentially stalling out at this point. And then if you have a lot of extra resources, you can spam ceiling zappers, or I would recommend gas traps because they will be more effective because you're dealing with physical enemies, but propanes are going to happen. You really can't avoid them. So ceiling electric fields 2 tiles up is a great way to go for it. You can stall out a lot by putting floor freeze below those. However, again, propanes are just going to remove those eventually, but my best recommendation here is, especially if you have an Outlander, you're going to be stacked, have everybody in the party drop all of their traps, all of the weapons they're not using, especially the melees because they drop twine. Have everybody drop all of their relevant materials. Don't be dropping Sunbeam, guys. You don't need Sunbeam. You don't need anything that crafts a weapon. Power cells, they're useless. We want the mechanical parts, the fiber serbs if you're making gas traps. We want the rough ore. We want the nuts and bolts. We want the planks. We want the twine, so like carved twine if you're making maxed out, tire traps or any kind of tier below it, depending on your power level. And bacon, of course, if you're making gas traps. And I'm certain I'm forgetting something. Suffice it to say, drop everything you need. Recycle all the traps that the game gives you because I'm almost certain that the ones you can craft are going to be more effective. And there you go. That's my basic defense. A few tire traps, a few wall launchers, and then for some extra points you can put ceiling electric fields. The main difficulty here is going to be the mini boss. Sometimes you're not going to be able to kill it. I understand. It depends on the modifiers. I do have a video on that if you guys want to know the best way to deal with those mini bosses, but a base is going to be really helpful here. A slow field is going to be really helpful here. I think a slow field or 2 teammates so you can max out that 2-minute timer, and then everybody just throws their drones is probably the best way to deal with this. As I said earlier, you want to recycle most of your weapons. You want to keep at least a couple on you, at least a good melee in case it's smokescreen, and a really good ranged weapon to spam it if it's not a smokescreen. And from there, you can just spam your abilities, spam your drones, and hope that you can take it down in a reasonable amount of time. It's my understanding that he'll just give you the normal mini-boss rewards, so a cash or a perk up or whatever they drop, and then an extra 50 gold coins, which is nice because that's 50 gold in the shop. So you definitely want to take out the mini-boss if you can, but if you can't, you're still going to win, and it's not going to be a problem. That just about wraps it up, though, you guys. Oh, you know what? This would be the part where I could plug my creator code, and we'll pull it from another video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Become a member if you guys want to support the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day. And then